Alrighty, guys. Good morning to you all here. It is July 24th, 2025. Hope you guys are doing well out there on this lovely Thursday. And once again, we do have severe weather to talk about today. A very low end severe weather threat both today, tomorrow, and going into the weekend here. I'm really not expecting anything widespread in terms of significant severe weather until we probably get closer to next week. So we're going to talk about that. We got the first taste of fall on the way here as we potentially look towards the first and second week of August. And then we're also talking the tropics. That's really going to be the main conversation of the next couple of days here as we do watch this tropical disturbance down here off the Gulf Coast, which is going to be spinning, trying to get itself together here. Probably not going to happen. It's got a 10% chance of developing between today and tomorrow before it makes landfall inland here as a low pressure off the coast of Texas here, bringing some showers and thunderstorms. Really not expecting any widespread flooding. There could be some localized flooding in some areas across Texas and southern Louisiana with any tropical downpours, but this isn't going to be like a big rainmaker for you guys. Shouldn't be too concerned. We'll kind of talk about those rainfall totals as well. We do have an upper level disturbance and a cold front draped across the Midwest, the central plains, and northern portions of the Ohio Valley and Great Lakes, which will be bringing a low-end threat for severe weather today. Both wind and hail be the primary threats. Really not looking at a tornado risk in the next couple of days. Going to be very low on that side of things. And like I said, we'll talk about that heat wave across much of the United States that continues through much of the rest of the month. And then that first taste of fall, I would say that could be an early indication of what we could be seeing for the month of August. So we'll talk about that, break things down for you guys as always. One more thing I am watching here is a couple tropical waves off the coast of Africa. We've got another piece of energy that'll be moving off as we get into August, guys. I want you guys to know, and I've had some debate on the stream yesterday with this as well. Speaking of stream, thank you guys for all of the love and all the support. We were on for 8.5 hours yesterday covering a little bit of severe weather. Had some fun with some cameras, traffic cameras. We were watching people watching on traffic cameras yesterday. Had some fun with that, but I do appreciate all the support and the love you guys have been given as well as both platforms. You guys have just been super awesome and just amazing, and I really appreciate it. So back to what I was saying here, though, while I am talking about the tropics here for just a second, we are watching a couple tropical waves that right now don't have a really good chance of developing at all. Very low end chances here of really doing anything. But as we go towards the first week of August, there are signs of life in the tropics. We're going to start to see shear kind of work its way away from the environment here across the Atlantic basin, getting into the Caribbean and getting into the Gulf. The Saharan dust will also start to diminish a little bit. So that will open the door, as I've mentioned for the last couple of weeks now, going into August, going into September, and going into October, we will see tropical development more than likely start to become more adequate, more frequent. So that's something we're going to have to watch very closely. So I do think our tropical season will start to ramp up. If you guys remember, Hurricane Helene last year happened in September, and then we had Milton in October. So those are the peak months that we typically see that development in. So we'll talk about tropics here. Like I said, National Hurricane Center has a 10% chance of development between now and tomorrow. This probably isn't going to become anything. We'll be watching for another wave that could spurt its way up here into next week. Not quite highlighted by the National Hurricane Center yet. A lot of our model ensembles are showing a low moving into this environment into next week. So we'll start to talk more about that when NHC gets itself going with that, if they do see the need to do that. And if they do, that could bring, some concerns for the United States. And we'll talk more about that next week if that does in fact happen. Still a lot of discrepancy on with our models with that. But like I said, not expecting anything here with our cyclone development chance here in the next 2 days. 10% chance both in a 10-day or a 7-day period and a 2-day period. So we'll talk briefly here on severe weather. There's really not going to be too much severe weather wise in the next 3 days. Like I said, a marginal risk that basically goes from the high plains back down to the central and southern plains and up into portions of the Ohio River Valley and up into the Great Lakes. Today's threat, like I said, marginal risk level 1 out of 5. We are looking at a less than 2% tornado risk, but not 0. So do be mindful as always. There always could be a brief tornado outside of a risk zone or in a risk zone. We are also looking at a wind threat of up to 60-mile-per-hour winds and a hail threat today, both in the Great Lakes and in the Central Plains and Rockies, of hail up to 1 inch in diameter, maybe 2 inches in diameter in some areas if, you get a hailstone that's bigger or two. We get into tomorrow's forecast, not a lot going on as well. General thunderstorms for much of the United States. We have another marginal risk back up here in the high plains again for wind and hail, and then the same applies to the northeast from Washington, D.C. to northeast Maine tomorrow as well for your Friday. We get to the day 3 outlook as well. Not much going on either. A marginal risk across the northern Ohio Valley, the Great Lakes here from Milwaukee down to Chicago. Level 1 risk out of 5 for wind and hail again, and then another same thing applies here, marginal risk back into the upper plains here and high plains again into Montana, into North Dakota and South Dakota. So the next 3 days, guys, we won't have any live stream coverage. We'll probably have some brief weather updates kind of in between, but I'll probably be taking the next couple of days off since we've been go this week to kind of just take a breather, get ready for next week, because once next week gets here, we may start to open up the door for a lot more activity in terms of tropics / severe weather here. And we do look at the day 4 through 8 outlook, and the Storm Prediction Center has not highlighted anything, but they are talking about higher probabilities down the road here as a ridge sets up and allows for stronger swaths of damaging wind across the Great Lakes, the upper Midwest, and into the northern and southern portions of the Ohio River Valley. So that's something to make note of as we go towards next week, where we could see a big uptrend in severe weather. Not really going to run over a timeline for today's storms because they're very sporadic and very very isolated. So if you're in that marginal risk, just be mindful. If anything changes, we'll do an update. If we get a bump up or something like that, I'll do an update for you guys. But other than that, we'll go ahead and talk about our global pattern here. You guys can see across the United States here, pretty active jet streak here. You can see a troughing back up here in the high plains, which is what brought yesterday's severe weather. Some troughing up here in the Ohio River Valley. This will kind of merge today into one elongated jet streak here, and we'll see basically some severe weather, try to get itself going over the plains all the way up to the Ohio River Valley and up into the Great Lakes. We are watching that low pressure system down in the Gulf there spinning, moving inland across Texas and southern Mexico on Friday. So like I said, probably not going to do anything in terms of developing. There's always that small chance, but doesn't look like it's going to do much. We get into the weekend here, and this is where I want to start to talk. You got 3 different areas to watch for severe weather on Friday and Saturday here. We do have a little jet streak here across the portions of the Iowa area getting into the Midwest here, the Ohio River Valley. Another trough that starts to work its way in here as we go towards Saturday and Sunday. Just not really anything too significant. You guys just be weather aware if you're in risk zones as always. We get into next week, and this is where things get really interesting. Our high pressure is really going to be cranking here as we go toward the early portions of next week. So that heat dome will still be locked in over the southeast, the Ohio Valley. It's going to be probably the hottest temperatures so far, but that ridge will start to work its way to the west slowly as we go throughout next week. And what's going to happen starting Sunday and Monday and Tuesdays, we're going to see a stronger troughing develop on top of that ridge. And this is where we have the main threat, I think, for those MCSs, those MCVs, those big swaths of damaging winds that come through. We'll have some instability. We'll have the higher dew points. We'll have just enough shear, and it's west to east shear. So you're going to get directional. You're going to get the same direction shear here, and that's going to allow for those derecho type setups to potentially happen. So we'll be watching this very closely. We'll probably be busy both on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. We'll keep you guys updated if any risk zones do come out for those areas or those days. But as of right now, this is the area that I'm watching here for more of a bigger shot at seeing higher damaging winds as we go through the early portion of next week. And that pattern will really be in existence through much of about Wednesday and Thursday. We start to see that pattern break down in a huge heat dome, high pressure build all the way up here into Canada going into the end of next week. And that's really going to shunt a lot of severe weather chances. But I want you guys to know, and I mentioned that first taste of fall here, we do have some troughing that's going to build in on the eastern side of that ridge here, and what that's going to do is it's going to pull some cooler air down, so we could see a return of, or at least a cooler trend in temperatures, that quote-unquote first taste of fall, I should say, where temps might be in the 70s and 80s in this area here toward the Ohio River Valley, the northeast, the Great Lakes, as we go towards the end of next week into the first week of August. It's not quite set in stone yet. We are watching it, but there is a very good possibility we get some below average temps across the east coast, some heat relief, I should say, for all the people that are dealing with the heat this week. Now, if you're back up in the high plains and the west coast here, that troughing is going to start to basically end itself here. We'll see that ridge develop for a couple days, and then really, guys, as we go into the first week of August here, we may start to see another shot at severe weather return, but much of the United States down here are going to be under another ridge as we go toward that first and second week of August. So we'll keep you guys updated with that as we go towards the end of the month here. A lot of things going to be changing with our pattern. You can even see more troughing coming back here, maybe even a hurricane down in the Pacific Ocean as we go towards the first and second week of August here. We'll start to talk more tropics as we get highlights from risk zones from MHC or development regions from NHC, all of that stuff, etc. I will show you guys as well here the total rainfall over the next 7 to 10 days, as always here, and those higher rainfall totals are mostly going to be down along southern Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, along the Gulf where those tropical downpours are happening at, any general thunderstorms here, and then we have another swath from the central plains up through the Midwest here in Great Lakes where we do see those MCS setups and those MCVs. So something we'll be watching here. We'll keep you guys updated. We'll have a live stream later on tonight. We'll do a weather breakdown, all of that stuff. You guys come in, ask questions, comment. But if you guys have questions as well, feel free to put them in the chat here, and I will get back to those as I can throughout the day today. Other than that, guys, stay safe, be weather aware, and we will see you guys in the next one.